So let's go on from that film that ends in One Night Game to One Night Stand.
I'd have gone more with the baseball stadiums have stands, and this is what you could probably work something like that. Just workshop it a bit more. Yeah.
Your linking device would have been just as woeful and embarrassing as mine, so I don't feel so bad about it.
by which, of course, you've been excellent. Yes, but
naturally, that's what I was looking for, Scott. Sorry.
One Night Stand. To be honest, I don't think I'd even heard of One Night Stand before this last round of Snipe Chat in the last podcast there. Which
Craig mentioned it was brand new to me.
Yeah, which is perhaps a little odd, given that it's Mike Figgesy's follow-up to the very successful Leaving Las Vegas, which I was very impressed with back in the day. Maybe I'll have to revisit that and see how that one holds up, because, we'll get to that. This sees Snipes as Max Carlyle, a successful commercial director, seemingly happily married to Ming-Naz Mimi. He's rather pointlessly narrating this directly to us when he meets up with his estranged former best friend, Robert Downey Jr.'s Charlie, who's just found out that he has AIDS, or it's HIV, I suppose it would have been at that time. On the return trip home, he crosses paths with Natasha Kinski's Karen, and impulsively they sleep together. However, this One Night Stand, boom, title drop, has wider impact over the coming year as fate, or narrative convenience, throws them together time and time again, particularly after the reveal that Karen is Charlie's brother's wife, said brother being played by Kyle MacLachlan. Now, we have come to a degree full circle, at least in terms of criticism of these films. Just like Jungle Fever, this is a soundtrack that stomps all over the dialogue, and just like Jungle Fever, it's throwing a lot of stuff on the table of race relations, romantic relationships, commitment, fidelity, all that, and inviting you to make your own narrative out of it, as it's certainly not going to bother doing one for itself. However, it is much, much worse than Jungle Fever on every level, which at least felt that it had a direction it wanted to go in. One Night Stand just wanders aimlessly in a circle for an hour and a half and then stops, wasting some half-decent turns from all involved in the service of, well, I'm not precisely sure what. Its commercial failure was richly deserved, and I'm not sure I've got all that much to say about the actual film. Now, the production of it, though, oh boy. Apparently Joe Esterhaus gets paid $2.5 million for a 4-page outline, which becomes a script that Figgis more or less entirely ignores and half improvises. This sort of decision could only be made by execs on the same level of drugs that Downey Jr. was on during filming. After this, he immediately checks himself into rehab because he was, well, as close to death as his character here was. What a clustercuddle. Look, to be honest, I'm surprised it is not worse. It is, however, bad and should be ignored. Yeah.
How does this film have a budget of $23 million?
I'm guessing that's Joe Esterhaus' script and cocaine. Robert Downey Jr. was paid in buckets of cocaine. That's the only explanation. Yes. Figgis apparently has been... I was reading some interviews. He thought this was the film that's going to sort of take it to the next level, because The Leaving Las Vegas was critically acclaimed. It wasn't like a huge commercial success, and he thought this would be the one that sort of punted it open to wider doors, despite the fact that it's just obviously dreadful. I mean,
terrible.
I don't see how you can get hold of the script and go, yes, this is it, and then if you did think that, why you would then toss it out the window and make your own one up after paying so much for the Esterhaus version, which... back in the days when Joe Esterhaus could be paid money for his drivel. No, just nonsense on every level. I don't understand what's going on with this film at all. It's probably the worst Snipes performance maybe in here, but that's maybe not fair. The acting's probably okay. It's just acting in service of nothing, and lots of things that don't go anywhere. Yeah.
I actually had no problem with the acting, and there were a couple of moments actually that I found quite affecting with Wesley Snipes. One moment in particular, and just he's quite believably crying. I was quite convinced with that. Right as Robert Downey Jr. is approaching the end of his life. Mm-hmm. So there are definite moments there, but the film as a whole, why does this exist?
Yeah.
I'm so pleased that I was worried that I was missing something and that you were going to say, oh, this is a masterpiece. Like, no, it's crap. I'm so pleased that you agree. So, yeah, this film absolutely gets off on the wrong foot too, because, I mean, it's absolutely not a blanket thing, but I think we're both largely in agreement that voiceovers generally don't help a film. There are times when it works. But certainly when a film, for no reason, starts with the character directly addressing the camera.
Yeah, that annoyed me more than it being a voiceover, because it's that breaking the fourth wall in the first 5 minutes, and then it's not done again, if I remember rightly, until the very end of it. So why bother doing it?
Yeah, that's it. Well,
and there's nothing that he says that is of any use to be told at that point that you couldn't have done by any number of other ways.
It's not even breaking the fourth wall in the first 5 minutes. It's the first thing that happens.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah.
Immediately, he's addressing the camera. But then, yeah, that's absolutely dropped the rest of the film, and there are 2 other voiceover moments during it. But it's like, yeah, well, why do that at all?
Yeah.
It adds nothing. And then also near the start, I was like, I'm already thinking, I don't think I'm going to like this.
Yeah.
And then they had a really stupid actress who apparently wasn't caught by the director, who thinks that big international cooperation organisation that's based in New York is called The Un. Because she refers to it as The Un. And oh yes, and it basically doesn't get better from there.
Yeah.
There are in terms of the relationship between Natasha Kinski and Wesley Snipes, that is perhaps the one bit of the film that works too, because they're almost mugged. There's you can see that there would be some kind of tension between them. They've gone through a traumatic experience, and they don't immediately jump into bed with each other. It sort of builds during the night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that bit sort of works. And then we get another bit of voiceover which says well, during the next year nothing was quite the same for me. Like, okay, show don't tell, but okay. Then we jump forward a bit, see a couple of moments where they're supposed to be suggesting that, I guess, that Max has changed and he's become really, really unreasonable, but I'm not quite sure how they figure that, since the big way they seem to be saying it is Ming Na, who I think everything I've ever seen her in, I've found her deeply unlikable. So I'm not sure if it's her or her characters. But they're having this dinner party, and Thomas Hayden Church's character is being an absolute asshat. And Wesley Snipes calls him out on being an absolute asshat. And she seems to be annoyed. And seems to think that Wesley Snipes is an asshat for calling his partner out and being an asshat. Apparently you saw it quite differently from me, because I saw how it was. But that seems like the big thing that happens. And then where I was just getting offended by it, I was a couple of times, I did swear quite loudly at the screen. I was in a sort of, yes, going to do something physiologically impossible to yourself with the 2 spectacularly stupid coincidences. Spectacularly stupid is actually quite a common theme through this film. Because he goes back to New York to go and be with Robert Downey Jr. in his final days. And I'm like, okay, well, I assume things aren't so great between him and his wife. He's probably going to try and look up Natasha Kinski. That seemed reasonable. It seemed to make sense. But no, a city of 9 million people, and the one person he met by chance in the city of 9 million people, which also had millions of other people who don't live there at the time in particular, because it was really busy because of the unconvention, turns out to be the wife of his best friend's brother.
Yeah.
Oh no, that just genuinely offended me. I was very angry about that. And then the stupidity increases, because apparently they just, despite having not seen each other all the time, but the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is dying and everybody's really upset about that, they can't even step outside of their room and he's dying, so he sees them, and then they start groping each other at the funeral. Jesus, wait, like an hour or something even though. So, and then
have you no sense of shame? Have you left no decency, sir?
At long last, have you no decency? And then at the funeral, they decide, oh well, we should probably shag then, right?
Yeah.
So they go outside, and the fairly large grounds of a fairly large house, and they come into this building in which Cal MacLachlan and Ming Na are also shagging. No, that is such lazy writing, and I am so angry and offended by your absolute bullcrap. And then we're supposed to have... Again, I think the film thinks it's quite clever. The film is not clever, the film is stupid.
Yes.
Because it moves to a final scene where, once again, we visit the entirely convincingly real Japanese restaurant, which it absolutely does not look like a soundstage with some lights behind it. Absolutely convinces as a genuine, real-life restaurant. That was so bad. They certainly didn't spend the $23 million on that set. And it seems clear that the film thinks that it's a real twist that you find out that the couples have changed.
Yeah.
It's like, well, obviously it was going to be that. Why else would they be having dinner together?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was just so offended by its stupidity and its character stupidity. It's just something I just can't abide. People making nonsensical decisions that like real people wouldn't make for the sake of narrative convenience.
Yeah.
Although it's the whole cosmic coincidence thing of like, well, that woman was also in some way, that doesn't make any sense. You know, in a smaller town where people are moving in the same circles, okay. No, it's New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned the scoring, Scott. Well, again, I'm going to use my newly coined phrase of over soundtracking, but yeah, this film very much had it. And incredibly on the nose again, too. Because as well as being spectacularly unnecessary and too loud, it's just like, well, we're in a Japanese restaurant now, so play some, like, Japanese-ish music to really sell it.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's sort of making up for the fact that they felt inadequate about how not a real restaurant their restaurant looked. They're just overcompensating there, maybe. I guess the one thing it does right is that it does give Wesley Snipes a reason, not an excuse to end things first before you start a new relationship with someone else, but like a reason to want to get away from his wife because, crikey, she was dull.
Yeah.
They're having dinner with Cal MacLachlan and Nastasia Kinski, and she's just talking about real estate prices. Those are the dullest people in the world.
Yeah.
This is a terrible, terrible film. As you say, it richly deserves to have only made the box office of 10% of its budget, because it's terrible.
If you told me going into this that I would find this script less believable than Demolition Man, I probably wouldn't have believed you, but I think it is. I buy Demolition Man more than I buy any of the relationships in this film, which is a tragic thing to think about. Yes, it's given me the fear about going back to Leaving Las Vegas, because I really liked that at the time, and I'm worried if I go back to it. You know?
I have had that in my mind. I remember liking that a lot, but it's been a good while since I've seen it, and I'm a bit concerned now. Especially if this was not just that it's the same director, but it's the follow-up to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.